So far we discussed positioning, hook, story, brain dump, and outline. Now let's focus on creation and then come up with the marketing plan. So creation is kind of funny because we don't spend a lot of time on creation. Usually at this point, if you've done the outlining and the brain dumping correctly, creation becomes pretty self-evident and obvious. So I'm not going to give you specifically how you write words and all that kind of stuff. I will give that to you later on in this training. In other modules, if we want to get that granular later, and that's going to be valuable to you at some point in time. I don't think it's that important right now. Here's what's important about creation. Deadline. When must it absolutely be done and why? What can each party do to make sure that that happens? That is critical to creation. Because once you got the good outline, it's going to be pretty much easy for you to put the product in place as it needs to be. But the deal is you can spend 6 hours or 6 years on a singular module. So before you ever create one word, shoot one video, do one thing to that product, you set that deadline. And when you're working with somebody else, you guys set it together to make sure that it occurs and it happens. Then once you have this deadline, then we schedule. So here's what it looks like for scheduling. You chunk down and you make it logical for you to be able to knock this product out to reach your deadline. So say, for example, you have a deadline 10 days from today. And let's just say your product, based on your outline that you've created, you think it's going to be 50 videos. That's 5 videos per day that you must prep, produce, record, edit, and finalize. 50 videos sounds hard. 5 a day? Not so bad. You might find that you might do 10 day 1, 10 day 2, 10 day 3, 10 day 4, 10 day 5, and then have some more room to buffer with that. If you don't hit 10 each day, at least you can make it up, but be more aggressive, get ahead of schedule potentially. You might find that that's possible, and then you can go back and sneak in that other stuff that didn't make it onto your outline, or supercharge your bonuses even further if you wish to. Now, if you're writing a book and you think each module will roughly be, or each chapter will roughly be 10 pages, each page will have 2,000 words on it, you got 8 modules and you want to do this book in 8 days, that's basically going to be 2,000 words a day, or 3,000 words a day, or whatever. So you break it down like that. And now once you chunk it down to specifics related to the deadline, the chances of you getting it done and efficiently and at a higher quality dramatically improve. Now, I also like to think future forward when I create. You're going to sacrifice content today that doesn't make the final cut for version 1 of the product that you sell. Keep track of it, put it in an Evernote or wherever you want to as a consideration towards the next update or future product. Be aware that usually your first time is your worst time. What that means is you're just going to continue to get better. Just overall, meta, you'll get better. Meta product creation, you'll get better. Each time you create products, if you want to, you should be focusing on getting better. Then you will get better, right? But even within the product itself, the first time you finally take it out of your head and put it on paper or make something intangible tangible, it's a lot of undertaking and a lot of energy that's exerted. But then you can step away, be objective about it after time has passed, and come back and say, okay, what can I do to tighten the bolts even better? What can I do to improve this even more? Now that customers have interacted with it and I've observed their interactions, what should I consider doing next related to this product or as a logical extension of this product? Those are super important things to be aware and observant on. Most people don't even know to look at those stuff. Now that you do, you've dramatically increased the value of what you can do when you're creating this. We think about that in advance, what the future will look like for this product potentially before we even create the product up front. Here's some more deadline tips for you. Make it real, put a page with a countdown timer on it. Set milestones and soft deadlines, create ways that force accountability, spec out best case, worst case, and normal case scenario. So for example, put a page on the website. Get the domain, put the page up with put a countdown timer on it. Says this product will be created, This finished product will be finished, Do something like that. So it's counting down, and every time you can look at it and see how many seconds are left before that product needs to be done. Milestones and soft deadlines. So this is chunking down, just said a different way, right? And you can create rewards for hitting each of those milestones. You can say, I would like the product to be due by this date, but it absolutely must be done by that date. That's the difference between a soft and a hard deadline. Create ways that force accountability. So tell people, having a partner that you're publishing with is a fantastic way of creating accountability to help you get this done. Even customers, telling customers, I'm going to have this done to you by this time, can create the force of actually getting it done. And I like to spec out worst case, best case, normal case scenarios to say, hey, if all goes well, I should be able to get this product done by this date. If nothing goes well, then I absolutely, no matter what, can get the product done by this date. In the normal course of events, I should be able to get the product done here. And then those are the things I think of to help me set my deadlines for my products. For schedule tips, if possible, start with the most important elements first. I won't necessarily create modules in the order that I'm presenting them to the customer. So like with the Tube method, we created the Hangout module first, but I believe that's module 6 or module 4 in the product when it was all said and done. But we created that first because that was the most important element. We like to do the hardest stuff first and the easiest stuff last. So it's a combination of what's important and what's hard. Because, what's simpler for you? When you're fresh to think clearly, or when you're dogged, dead tired to think clearly, right? This is why, if possible, save the easiest for last. Sometimes you don't have that luxury, it's just a consideration. Understand that inspiration is optional, creation is mandatory. Whether you do or do not want to create today, if you have a deadline, you must create. And very often you'll find out that when you don't want to, sometimes this is the best stuff that you actually do create, because that really forces you to dig down and be resourceful and not just live off inspiration. Lastly, this is important. It's okay to be slightly off course as long as you reach your destination, just like a plane, right? We're not going to be perfectly on time and online with the course that we plotted out in terms of chunking it down and scheduling it to get it done to reach the deadline. But as long as we're close enough, we can make adjustments that we need to hit the destination, which in this case is that hard deadline time when it absolutely, positively, no exceptions, will be completed and finished. Lastly, with Future Forward, just consideration is this. Realize your customers contain the best insights. So you won't get the product perfect until you sell it to somebody. Then you'll have somewhat of a hope to improve the product based on real-world customer interaction. Upsells, downsells, cross-sells are a thing. I usually don't start there. Maybe this is a philosophical difference. Most people will begin and plot out a campaign. This is what needs to be the front end. This is the upsell, the downsell. They'll build the whole product and they'll break down each chunk into its own part within a funnel. So they say, this is the overall course. Now, this is what should be on the front end. This is what should be on the back end. This is what should be on the upsell. This is what should be on the downsell. And so the customer says, oh, this thing's only $17. They buy it. They say, well, if you really want the full experience, you should also add this $27 item to there. And then they say, and if you also want this, you should add this $97 item there. I'm not saying that that's not a good idea. It is. But I like to do them in layers. Let's create one of those products first, and then we'll create another product to put in front of it or to put next to it, right? Based on interactions, based on conversions, based on what seemed to work and what didn't seem to work. So I don't like to take one product and break it down into pieces and then sell the pieces. I like to create one product that stands on its own. And then if that thing works, then we go back and we push it up even harder and higher by doing upsells and downsells and things like that. In general, now there are always exceptions, but this is just considerations, right? Time makes objectivity more likely. So by putting something out there, stepping away for a while and coming looking at it a month later, you will probably find way more easier things to improve and implement and to add to the product than you ever could, because you're too close to it if you're in the process of currently creating it and working towards a hardcore deadline. And then lastly, roll up smaller things into bigger things. So what you learned today, great. Apply that to the next product that you do. So learn the lesson, lock it down, and then generalize it. And then you could take on bigger and bigger products each and every month to the point where you've pretty much reached the completion of all the types of products you can create after a year or 2 or 3 or 4. And then you can pick and choose specifically, more strategically for each situation, what type of product, when, how, etc. So there you go. Here's the focus on creating the product that you've outlined that you're going to publish with somebody else.